Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are here with our guest and CEO of the Pursuit Institute, Delynn Miller, changing one mind at a time. Yes, as a mindset coach, she's here to help you and anyone that she works with to really live the life they want. And it's pretty much as simple as that. She's global. She can work with you anywhere around the world. And we're excited to have our CEO joining us again here. Hello, Delynn. How are you?
Hello, Jill. So happy to be back.
It's exciting to have you. This woman has accomplished so much as a wife, as a mother, as a business owner, as a worker in the corporate world. She knows what she wants and how to get it, but the struggle is real. She's been there. We talked about that before, and we're excited that she's helping people like you and I now pursue their dreams. So tell us about the Pursuit Institute. And to start, it's pursuitinstitutecc.com. Just want to make sure everybody knows that. That's for coaching and consulting. So tell us about this work you do to start.
So, the best part is about this work is I love to specifically coach women who are in leadership roles and that are even they're new entrepreneurs, new to the business world, or new to like leadership in that capacity. Those are the people I really, really, really love to work with. And my partnership with the Pursuit Institute. So Pursuit Institute as a whole, it's like a partnership of all these amazing coaches that specialize in all of these different areas of life. And we all come together and we pour into one another. So we have a community of coaches, but that we also pour into all of our clients, which is amazing.
Yeah, and you're helping them connect and taking control of their lives to get that life they want. And I know for today, you want to talk a little bit about leading from the new self-image and build off a purpose, right? Could you share a little bit about what this is for today?
Yeah. So in the past weeks, we've talked about what is life's purpose? Like, why are we even here? And how do you kind of establish what is your life's purpose? So we've talked about that. We've talked about self-image, where, everything in our life is a reflection of the standards and self-image that we hold of ourselves. So now, how do you take it to that next level and go, okay, how can you be in control of your life versus letting circumstances kind of run the show? And this has everything to do with self-leadership. And I know up until, I would say the first 30 years of my life, I always had all the circumstances that would dictate my next move. Right? Versus me going, no, like, this is what I want. Yes, these things are real, right? So yes, my kids are this age, or I don't have kids yet, or I just got a new dog, or the sky is falling, or whatever, the government's doing this, or my parents are doing this, or whatever the circumstance was. I would let that dictate what I did versus me go, nope, this is what we're doing. And come along for the ride and get myself in the environment that supported where I was going versus letting outside circumstances run the show.
See, I love your steps because a lot of people don't know how to do that. And you mentioned, as humans, why do we get in the habit of following others and walking behind, not walking next to or in front? It's we become followers. Could you share a little bit about this habit?
So you nailed it, Jill. That is all it is a habit. And what happens is we are like, from the moment we're born, it's like we're almost groomed to be reliant on other people, right? You're relying on your siblings, you're relying on your parents. And then you may go off and get married and they're just like, oh, take care of her. And it's just like, dude, like, at what point do I get to just like step in and start leading my own life, right? And you think of even the jobs that you've had where it's like, maybe when you were a teenager, your best friend or your sibling got you into a workplace, or for a lot of people, they end up doing what their parents did, right? So like, I know lots of people are like, oh, well, my mom and my grandma were nurses, so I'm going to be a nurse, or my mom and grandma and my dad were all teachers, so I'm going to go be a teacher, or whatever. And they just, because that's what they know, right? They're familiar with it. And what happens is we then get surrounding ourselves, like our environment is everything. And so we end up like getting into an environment of and surrounding ourselves with people that are like making the same amount of money, like that, like we all make the same amount of money, we all have the same health habits, we all like our marriages all look the same. But then what happens is we end up again setting our standards around those things. And we for 98% of humans, they set themselves up for like kind of, well, that's just the way it is, right? So my best friend and my sister and the people that I surround myself with, they all have crappy marriages. So I guess like that's the normal thing. So I guess the fact that mine's going downhill is normal, right? Okay, let's sit around and complain about that. And oh, they're really, overweight and unhealthy. Or could be the opposite. They're really underweight and unhealthy. I don't know, whatever, right? Either way, you start to normalize these things, or their business didn't thrive when they first started. So I guess let's normalize that. And we start to normalize mediocrity. Where instead of going, no, wait a sec. Yes, those are their results. And I'm deciding something different. And then what happens is when you decide different, you'll start to hang out with people that have the results that you want. But people are scared to hang out with people that are 2 steps ahead of them because they don't feel that they're worthy. Like, oh, why would that person want to hang out with me?
Been
Right?
there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hands down.
And the same then as to go for individuals, but also businesses too, right? Because
Absolutely.
it can block them from thriving, as you say.
That's exactly it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting. So we
absolutely.
have to train our people, our employees, our leaders, everyone to stop this, to start
That's
leading,
right.
start taking risks.
Yeah.
And is there any certain techniques that can help us do this? Because it's always
Yeah.
going to impact work. It'll impact the next generation as
That's right.
well. How do
Nailed
you
it.
stop the cycle? I mean,
How
these
do
are
you
all,
stop it? That's
Delynn,
right.
tell us,
You nailed
Delynn.
it. So this is the thing, Jill, is everything in our lives is a reflection of that self-image that we talked about before. Okay. So our self-image, it's the way that we see ourselves. Like we have this self-image that we project out to the world, but that's not the one that's going to get us our results. It's always the way we see and view ourselves. And if we identify, right, if and again, I'll just use the example of, my mom was a teacher. So I guess like I identify as a teacher too, because that's what I'm used to. I know everything. And I mean, she had a pretty sweet schedule and all the things. But it's like our life and the way that we show up in it is always a reflection of the way that we see ourselves. So our businesses are a reflection also of how we see ourselves. So it's like reprogramming that self-image so that you could start to get different results. Like I know, like for me, my mom was a teacher and my dad worked in a factory, right? So even when it came to like earning money, they had to work overtime. Like my mom would take on summer schools or tutoring or whatever to earn extra money. My dad would work extra hours at the factory and he could earn extra money. So I was programmed that if I wanted to earn money, I had to work overtime and I had to work really hard and I had to sacrifice. Like I had to sacrifice time with my family and I had to sacrifice, whatever, everything, like money and sacrifice kind of went hand in hand, right? So that's the way I was programmed until I was like, wait a sec, because I started watching people earn money and they weren't sacrificing at all. Like they were present with their kids and they had, they lived in a healthy body and they seemingly, from what I saw, had healthy marriages and great relationships and all the things. And it was like, okay, well, that person did it, but that's not anything I've been exposed to. How do I then go and do that?
You
right?
sound
And
like me. I'm sorry. I'm the same way. My parents,
yeah,
the work and the work ethic, and I started working young, and I always said, that's what I have to do. That's what I have to do. And I've been working since I was 12, bought my
that's right.
first car, had to pay for my college, like
That's
everything. I
right.
didn't have anything handed to me. And
That's right.
this is good to know because a lot
Yeah,
of us don't, but some people don't get this far to.
that's right.
All right, continue. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
just
But then
empathizing with you in a good way.
no, absolutely, Joe. And there's so many people that were raised the exact same way that we were.
Mm-hmm.
What happens now is you talk about that next generation and the cycle that it creates.
Mm-hmm.
You've got like this split of people that go, I had to work for everything, so I want my kids to want for nothing.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to, but then it's just like, well, what are you creating with that? There's like
Mm-hmm.
lots of like thoughts that go against that argument too, right? So but this is where it's like, if in that stopping the next cycle means just teaching self leadership, like I tell my kids now, like it's so interesting. Like I have two sisters, and all we were raised by the same
Yeah.
people. All three of us went to college, university, because that's what we were like. It wasn't really an option. Our parents were like, not sure how we're going to pay for it, or you're going to pay for it, or what's going to happen, but like you're going, and that's final. So we all did that.
Yeah.
And now all three of us are entrepreneurs. We all just kind of were like, wait a sec, that's not aligning with us, and we're off doing our own thing now. And when I look at that, it's like, okay,
Yep.
now you have all these entrepreneurs. And even like I've told the story of like my husband being a, police officer for 15 years. And then now he's in the entrepreneurial world. And so now all our girls see, right? They're 10 and 12. They're seeing, okay, mom and dad are entrepreneurs. And it's like this whole other cycle. But my
Yep.
big message to my kids constantly is everything is a decision, right? Like you might align with a corporation or with entrepreneurship or whatever. And that's okay. It might require you to go to university or college, and it might not. It might require whatever, right? But it's just like, if you are clear on how you want to live your life, don't worry about how I've lived my life.
Yeah.
Don't worry about how your aunts or your grandparents or whoever have lived their life.
Totally.
Be confident in who you are and what you want and where you see your life going, and then make decisions from that space.
Beautifully said. Delynn Miller, by the way, the website, the book, the app. We have so much more to talk about. How can we reach you?
Yeah, so you can actually go to DelynnMiller.com. So it's DELYNN
Mhm.
Miller.com. And I just had a book release last week.
Congratulations. This is huge. Tell us.
It's right here. So it's called You Can't Mess This Up: Embracing Imperfection, Stop Overthinking, and Take Inspired Action. And it has been crushing it. So we are number one in the transformation category, and number one in business and mindset coaching category. So this has been like absolutely incredible. And it was very specifically and strategically designed to be an easy read, that you can pick it up and just go through it. And it's got all the how of everything that I talk about. It's got it right in this
Yep.
book.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
the idea is, the reason why people aren't self-leading is because it's a lot easier to follow first, and I'll just do what they do and I won't have to worry about messing it up. And I won't, because we have such a big, strong fear of failure, right? And so this book is all about how you can't actually mess it up. You're either going to get what you want, or you're going to learn some lessons along the way, and you can just pivot and make a different decision.
I love it. Thank you so much. Delynn,
Yeah.
spell the website, spell your name.
Delynn, DELYNN Miller.com.
Awesome.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
okay, tell us more. Tell us
Okay.
book, the app, what's going on?
Also, there's an app that encapsulates everything that I do. So it's on Google Play, it's on Apple. It's called Pursue You, with the letter U. And it is a kind of a play on university there. But it is everything you need in order to pursue your best life, your best business. We mastermind in there. There's like a tracker you can track in it. You can journal in it. You can get all of your meditations and affirmations, and you can like business masterminding and spiritual masterminding and just everything that you need in order to stop living the mediocre existence and start really thriving.
Yay! Exciting. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. This is
Yeah, so
great,
download
great
the
stuff.
app. Download the
Um,
app, everybody. It's free. That's the best part too. The app is
Oh
free.
my goodness.
So
Well,
grab it.
congratulations. You are really
Yeah,
living the life, living the dream, but helping others do the same.
you gotta.
And if you are just tuning in, our mindset coach here, of course, at the Pursuit Institute, Delynn Miller, joining us. And you mentioned we are so powerful and
Yes.
unfortunately programmed to be so limited. So we're
Yes.
going to lift these limits and open up doors. And she's here giving us the solution. Her and her staff are just, they're global. And they're
Yes.
helping so many with the work. Delynn Miller. All right, go ahead. What
That's
else
right.
is next for
That's
us?
right. So I want to keep digging into, because I think you brought up a really good question around what if we aren't leading ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's our lives, our businesses, how we're showing up in the world, how can we then what are our expectations of this next generation? So it's so interesting to me how when people look at kids, and I mean, think of like even 50 years ago, right? Like kids were to be seen, not heard. Like maybe a little bit less longer, depending on how you were raised, right?
True. Yeah.
And now, like so quickly, in many households, you've got also kids that are running the show and things that we've exposed them to
Mm-hmm.
in this whole thing. So what's that going to do to the dynamics of businesses, of corporations, massive organizations, to like, what's this going to look like for them to show up and be serving like we're all serving in their world, right? And I think again, it comes back down to self-leadership and allowing them and teaching things to this generation, like responsibility and decision
Yep.
making. Like you've got like this is the epidemic here, where we have a mass amount of adults currently right now that don't know how to make a decision because they're in the habit of following the followers.
So
So it's
true.
like, if you don't know how to make a decision and then you go and have kids or grandkids and nieces and nephews and neighbors and all these people that you're exposed, these little humans that are currently being formed and programmed and all the things, what are we teaching them? And are we teaching them to be able to not have constant fear of messing up? Are we
True.
teaching them
Or
to be able to take risks, right? Like, what is the risk? Like, this is what I say to my kids all the time. I'm like, my oldest daughter is an overthinker. Like, it's her job.
yep.
And I always just say to her, I'm like, what's the risk? You're either going to get what you want, or you're going to get you're going to get some feedback based on whatever decision you make, and you're going to pivot and you're going to do something different. But it's just like, take the perceived risk, right? Like I think of when I was, and I've already talked about being a professional ladder climber, and I was like climbing the corporate ladder and doing my thing. And the moment the feeling of me not fitting into that space anymore, not fitting into the box that I and kind of society had put me in, the moment I didn't feel like it was a good choice for me, the risk, there's the risk of like giving up. I've got like the Vegas of all jobs, like it's got the pension and the benefits, and it's 9 to 5, no
Yep.
weekends. Like this is how we deem success in our current
Mm-hmm.
society, right? And I was just like, yeah, I have all that, but I'm also not fulfilled. So like, what's the risk? Like going to work every day and wanting to like punch myself in the face because I don't love what I'm doing, or going out and creating something that feels amazing. Like what's the actual risk, and how do I know how to make decisions? And do I have the self-image and enough self-love in order to make that
Okay.
decision? Like, can somebody say to themselves, like, I love myself enough in order to make a decision, even if it's scary?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
Oh, and you'll guide us through. All right. And things are
sure.
scary, but you have to take a little bit of a leap of faith. It's that whole, I think I can, the Thomas the
That's
Train.
right.
No, I know I
Absolutely.
can, I know I can. And
That's
what's
right.
the worst that happens? You fail. But
That's
no,
right.
yeah, you have to try to, or else you have that regret, that feeling, that angst that you just, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
The biggest thing that people regret at the end of, or the biggest thing that people experience at the end of their life is regret. And it's like, I always like to do the end of life test with myself. Like I'll visualize myself. I'm at the end of my life. What am I thinking about? Right. And I'm just like, ain't no one got time for regrets. Like that's just not even on my radar. Like that's not even something that I want even to be an option. So as things come to me, I do them. Like I take action on them. And even I can say like with this book that's just launched, this was my first book by myself. I've had lots of books that were like I wrote chapters in them, but this was my first start to finish experience. And there were so many reasons along the way that I should have just stopped and like not focused on it anymore. I had other things to do, or we were traveling, or the kids needed this, or Dave needed this, or my business needed whatever, right? But this was something that was so strong within me that I was like, I've got to get I've got to get these ideas, these thoughts out onto paper. And some of the words, are they like brand new concepts? No, but hopefully I can say them in a way that resonate with people so that they go, "Oh, now I get it." Because that's all we need sometimes is for someone to be able to step out of the box of mediocrity and go and say things in a certain way. Right. So I'm really, really hoping and knowing, because I've already got lots of feedback because it hasn't even been a week, but it's up on Amazon. You can go to amazon.com, amazon.ca. You can grab up the book. You can't mess this up. And I've gotten lots of feedback already. And it's interesting. If say 20 people have messaged me, they've all messaged me with 20 different, oh my gosh, loved this part, or I took this out of it, and none of them have been the same, which has been really, really cool. So it's just like different messages are going to be received by different people at different points.
Yay! This is
Yay!
great, great. We still have 3 minutes left, so I'm not cutting you short. What else do you want to make sure we get across for everyone today that's listening to Delynn Miller, our author, our app creator, and so much more?
Yes, I want everybody to go check out dylanmiller.com. And I want you to really start asking yourself the questions of, am I leading my own life?
Yep.
Am I leading my own life? Or have I been like exposed to, of course, we're always exposed to different things at different points that have, led us to the next decision. But like, am I in love with my life, like every single aspect of it? And and there's a time to be a follower. That's not what I'm saying. But what I want everybody to do and ask themselves is, am I an intelligent follower? Do I follow people? Like there's people that I mastermind with that I'm like, oh, I follow them like because they're getting the results that I desire, right?
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
when I found
True.
out I was pregnant for the first time, I had a girlfriend that she already had, two little kids, and I loved the way she parented and I loved the way she did. So I was like, oh, I'm following. I'm just taking your lead. This is great because they have the results. So ask yourself, am I
Yep.
following the people that are getting me my current results? Or am
Or
I following people that have the results that I desire? And
yeah.
you're worthy, you're enough. Go follow them and then lead your own life. Make decisions from that space.
Mhm. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And do you want
Yeah,
to share a client experience or something else before we go? Because I know there's so many on the website and there's so many people that are benefiting from this process and they're
absolutely.
speaking about it. Go ahead, tell us.
Yes. You know what? I'm going to read just the
Good.
first part of chapter 1 of the book.
Perfect.
It says, have you ever had an idea that felt like it was just meant for you, only to wonder months or years later what happened to the idea and ask why you didn't pursue it? Welcome to the wild and tangled world of inaction due to self-doubt. Of course, you might be thinking right now, well, my reason wasn't because of self-doubt. It was because of filled in your perceived reason here. But I bet if you really looked at your reason, you will be able to see that yours is actually an excuse or blaming. And I say this because I used to be an excellent blamer. It was always someone else's fault that I wasn't doing what I actually wanted to do. And it also wasn't uncommon for my excuse to be the exact same reason as my big why.
Yeah.
For example, my excuse, the reason I didn't pursue owning my own business was because my kids were too little. Maybe when they got older, I'd try. My why, the reason I want to pursue working for myself was so that I could have full control over my calendar and spend more time with my kids. You see, the excuse and the why are the exact same thing. But for me, my excuse won the battle every single time. And the real reason that I wasn't pursuing what I wanted was because of self-doubt. And I didn't believe that I could be a kick-ass mom and have amazing relationships with her kids and also fill my desires. So
wow.
Get in there.
Powerful. Check out
Yes.
the website, the new website. Amazing. DelynMiller.com. That's DELYNN Miller.com. Unlock your potential with her free app. And don't forget, check out her life coaching, business coaching. Her and her whole team are ready. Don't forget the book. You can't mess this up. Embracing imperfections. Stop overthinking and take inspired action. Go to the website. Thank you so much for being here again. Great show. And thanks for that read.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. You have a fantastic day.
You
Always a
too.
pleasure seeing you. Enjoy the day, and we'll definitely talk soon. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much to all our
Bye, Jill.
listeners. We'll be right back with more. Thank you, Delynn. No more feeling stuck. Let's do this together.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.